I'm Richard Randall. Welcome back to the Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, the owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Barb has the buyers and barbhasthebuyers.com. We're back, Barb. You know that I've recommended you and your team for years. Still, many people do want to interview several agents to pick the very best one. So you have a report on the top 10 questions that people ought to ask before hiring an agent. Tell us about that list.
Well, Richard, a lot of people, when they interview an agent, they really don't know what to ask or what to say. They're it's not their area of expertise, so they're sort of leaving it up to the agent that shows up. And not all real estate agents are the same, for sure. I mean, they all have different levels of experience, different level of sales volume, expertise, specialties. And so picking the wrong agent can actually cost the home seller thousands if they don't get it right. Let me give you an example. I had a seller, probably it was a couple years back, before the big boom and all the crazy stuff that happened, and they lived up in the mountains. So a lot of times the ideal time to sell a home is in the summertime in the mountains. That's when all the Texans come up, and they love, coming up to our mountains from the flatland, and they just fall in love. And that's really when you can really command top dollar, is the summertime. So this gentleman listed their home and had it marketed for 6 months by another agent all through the summer, and the price was too high. So they picked the wrong agent. They believed what the agent said to them, told them what the house was worth. They kept trying to meet with the agent to find out why the home wasn't selling. The whole entire summer went by, and they didn't call me until the fall. And they said, "What is going on?" I'm like, "We're just off on price." And it wasn't by that much. There was nothing that they had to do to the home. So we had to go back in there, readjust. And sure enough, we got it sold right away. So, but think about it. They could have actually gotten more money if they were priced like that during the prime time. And most people really don't know what questions to ask. In fact, I did some research and discovered in the most recent report that came out from the National Association of Realtors, a majority of home sellers only speak to one agent before putting their home on the market. And oftentimes it is that agent that sold them the home years before. But did you know, Richard, that 74% of agents sell 3 or less homes a year? So if they're not selling very many homes, how would they know to price a home competitively, right? How would they know to help the seller get the most of what they want, which is to price it competitively so they can actually get top dollar, and so they don't have to endure months and months of showing the home. Even Realtor.com can't get pricing right with their 3 guesstimated values. If those values are $100,000 apart, yet the home really doesn't sell for that much, which I have seen with my own listings, it's crazy. If you put your house up, if you look up your address go to Realtor.com and put your address in the search bar and scroll down and look at the real estimate or whatever they call it, you'll see 3 different values, huge range in prices. So that's not a good source for home sellers to figure these things out. And finding the best real estate agent to help you sell a house actually takes a little bit of research. So what we're doing is we're trying to make that search easy for home sellers to pick the best agent that works for you. We've actually created a free report. It's entitled "The 10 Questions You Should Ask Before You Hire an Agent." If you go to barbhasthebuyers.com, click on the green button, free reports. I think it's the second one down. And, there are agents that kind of, discount and don't do very much. They're like, "Oh yeah, I'll list it." And they're kind of hoping they'll get a buyer for your home or something, but they do very little. Or there's some that will actually kind of promise you the moon and charge a full price, but then they really don't do very much. So I wanted to go over these key questions that a home seller should ask. The first question is, how many buyers are you working with, and how many buyers do you have that might be a good match for my home? How likely is your company to bring buyers to my home? And then another question, and we actually get this question quite often, are the buyers that you're bringing through the home qualified? Now, this is shocking to me, Richard, and I discovered this kind of the hard way. I found out by the open houses that we're holding, and also from the feedback that we're getting on our showings, that a lot of real estate agents, when they get a quote lead of a buyer, either the lead happens through buying leads from one of the tech companies like Zillow or Realtor.com or their own website or something, right? They connect with a buyer online and they're like, okay, I meet you there. We call it the Pop-Tart agent. They pop out of their office, run to the house and show it to them. Yet they don't really know anything about the buyer. They don't know if the buyer's qualified to buy a home, and they don't know if the buyer even wants a home like that. So imagine being the seller, right? You've done all this preparation to get your home ready for the showing that's scheduled. And these agents don't know if these buyers can buy a couch on Craigslist, let alone your home. I was just talking to a seller last night that the feedback on the showing, it was a 2-story with all the bedrooms upstairs in the basement. Oh, they discovered they want a ranch. Really? They don't know whether or not they want a ranch or a 2-story, so that's the kind of stuff that we see all the time with the less trained agents. Another question you should ask is, what if I'm not happy with the job that you're doing? Can I cancel my contract? Whew, seen a lot of drama on this issue where agents had their home on the market, other agents, and they don't offer any kind of cancellation guarantee like we do. And what they end up doing is if the seller decides they want to break up, they either charge them money, which wasn't in their original contract, or they make it very difficult for them to leave, or they'll say, well, if any of these buyers that showed came back, you owe me money, which is not what the contract says. So a lot of people just don't want to deal with the fight, and they just, let it go. So that should be in there. And many home sellers are afraid of being stuck in a long-term contract. Those are just some of the questions. And, Richard, we were just talking about the other thing that you should ask is what if there's a conflict, between the buyer and I? Are you gonna fight for me? That's a really good question. Just the other day, I had a closing taking place. I was scheduled to close on Monday. And through the course of the contract, the buyer requested to close early on the Friday before. And the seller said, no, I'm not ready. The seller is a lovely, very sharp 84-year-old woman. She said, nope, I can't do it. I've got my mover scheduled on Saturday. My granddaughter's going to come pick me up on Sunday, and we'll move out, and we'll be out sometime on Monday. So what does the buyer's agent do? She tries to trick the system by getting the buyers to sign all the paperwork on Friday. And then she does her walkthrough on Sunday and calls me and says, oh, there's a lot of stuff here. She's not out, but we've already signed. And when the wire hits on Monday morning, she better be out first thing. And I'm like, and the seller was home. Okay. And I knew the seller was home. And I knew she was probably going to confront her, which just makes me crazy when agents do stuff like that. I said, don't you dare confront that 84-year-old woman with your drama. There is a legal procedure for this. She will be out when it's time. And so, and of course she did. And then the seller's all upset, calling me, going, I've lost so much sleep. And, moving by itself is traumatizing for anybody at any age. It is it's one of the major stressors in people's lives. So you don't want these things to happen, but there's some things out of the listing agent's control when the buyer's agent tried to pull a sneaky. And I wouldn't let her get by with it. I got right up in her face over that and said, don't you dare confront her. There are legal procedures for this, because it's very clear in the contract when possession takes place. It takes place at a certain date and time. In this case, it was on closing day. after closing and funding. Well, it wasn't funded yet, and it wasn't closed yet. And what she was demanding that the seller be out by 9 a.m, but in fact, the wire didn't come through. It didn't close until 1:30 in the afternoon. And of course, got the seller all stressed out, having not had very much sleep. She was completely freaking out. And I said, don't you worry at all, because there's a legal procedure for that. The actual legal procedure, if the seller does not deliver possession at the date and time after closing, then the buyer has to go to court. They have to get a form that's called a 3-day notice to quit. They have to wait 3 business days to get a court date. That could take a couple more weeks. Then they have to get a judgment for possession. Then they have to get the sheriff, which takes a couple more weeks. So it's not like, you can just push them out the door. And I just didn't like them trying to intimidate this 84-year-old woman. And I told her that. I said, this is the legal thing. She goes, well, we're going to leave tomorrow on closing day. I said, fine, take your time. Don't let them push you around at all. So if you want somebody that has your back, that's the kind of agent that you need. And you know what? Everything has to be in writing. We actually provide our 6 guarantees in writing, so that our sellers are comfortable with us. Because what we want is raving fans, 5-star reviews. That's what we want. We offer our buyer in waiting guarantee. We offer our honest promises guarantee, our communication guarantee, our home sold guarantee, cancellation guarantee. And if you're thinking of making a move, you can call us anytime at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to The Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. You can always reach her at 719-301-3900. Barb, we've got a couple of minutes for your hot new listings up and down the Front Range.
Absolutely. I have a beautiful ranch on 2887 Mary Lane, priced in the mid 300s, really cute hardwood floors, a spectacular home, 4,200 square feet on 1303 Lookout Springs, in the mid 6s, backs to open space, 6-bedroom, 4-bath, beautiful remodeled home on 1006 Zodiac in the southwest part of town at 649. And then my colleague, Bill Watson, has some great homes, one on Colorado Avenue, a brand new stunning duplex at 694, and a beautiful home on 4701 South Idalia Street, priced at 724, 4 bedrooms in Cherry Creek with main level living and gleaming hardwood floors. So if you want to find out about all of our coming soon homes, go to barbhasthebuyers.com or call us at 719-301-3900. Richard?
You've been listening to The Real Estate Voice. It airs every Saturday. You can hear replays on podcast or go to barbhasthebuyers.com for YouTube. Thank you for listening. And to reach out to Barb, call 719-301-3900. Barb, have a great week.